I took on the job as a seasonal retirement job. When I got in there, I understood that there were some risks, but I certainly didn't expect what happened to happen that day. We got everything loaded up, started that morning. As you get closer to the west end of that particular highway, the rights of way get very, very steep. They'd cautioned me that the steepness could be a problem, and if I got to a point where it seemed to be too steep, that the best way to go about getting that done would be to back up the side hill and then spray on the way down, which I got to a point I did. I couldn't get high enough up on the side hill to actually cover what I wanted to cover. There's a side hill that had quite a bit of spurge plants on it, and I actually stopped and considered how I could best cover that. It looked to me like I could drive straight up a portion of that side hill and just make a swing across there and catch most of it. What happened was I had to slow enough to make the turn, and at that point everything shifted and the side-by-side started to roll. I don't know how many times it rolled, but at the end of it I was partially ejected, and the top of the roll bar cab enclosure came to rest right at my midsection, right below my rib cage. So obviously I was trapped under there. But what was fortunate for me was the county road superintendent happened to be in the area, and he came upon it almost immediately, and he was able to wedge that underneath the side-by-side and release just enough of the weight off to where I didn't feel the immense pressure that I was feeling. But I kept asking him to get it higher because the pain was still quite intense. The second fortunate part of that was he had another member of his crew that was in the area with a skid steer. That is what was able to eventually release me. So by the time emergency personnel got there, they were already in the process of lifting it. The EMTs were there then to pull me out from underneath it. They were concerned that I was doused with chemicals, so they cut off all my clothing. Things were starting to get really hard. I assumed I was bleeding. The air ambulance has already been dispatched and was already there waiting for me. Basically what had happened to me was I'd torn my small intestine in 3 different places, and they ended up removing 20 inches of my small intestine. The surgeon did come through as I was being released from ICU into the surgical recovery. 3 days earlier, he didn't think I was going to make it. While I was spraying, while I was in the side-by-side, I did not have a seatbelt on. I was not wearing a helmet, and those things would have mitigated the damage that I ended up sustaining. What I would have done if I could do it over again is I would have driven past that patch of spurge. Make sure you're using all the protective equipment that you can. Rolling down a side hill in a side-by-side, that can possibly kill you. So my advice would be just familiarize yourself with the equipment first and foremost, and utilize the protective safety equipment that it has. There isn't a patch of leafy spurge that is worth risking injury or your life. Always wear your seatbelt, always wear your helmet, and always check your terrain.
Always wear your helmet.
I always wear my seatbelt.
Always check your terrain.